All right, welcome to the webinar today, and today's topic is marketing motivation, freedom, and power end of marketing paralysis. My name is Sunil Bhaskaran, and I'll be leading this webinar. And let's get into it here. A couple of things before we start. A few things. Some of you are pretty new to our trainings here. So my business partner and my business partner's name is Bill Bellew. We both have an accumulation of 6 decades of experience owning businesses, mentoring thousands of entrepreneurs. Got a online forum that has about 100 million plus hits. We're founders of a 28,400 plus member business networking meetup organization here in the Silicon Valley area in California. And you're both international speakers. We've spoken on content marketing, leadership, team training, and other business topics. These are some of the companies that we work with. If you're in front of the computer, we work with companies like Comerica Bank, Women's Council of Realtors, we've spoken there, Chamber of Commerce's Principal Financial Group, and Cisco, and numerous other companies that we haven't actually included here on this graphic. Okay, a couple of things here before we get deeper into the topic at hand. But it's becoming more competitive these days. Firstly, you're getting a lot of distractions from people. Secondly, you get quite a bit of competition from direct competition, as well as competition for just attention overall for people. And you really got to find a different way to market and gain people's attention rather than just willy-nilly sending out messages hoping that someone will respond. But these are the following, number 3 through 8 on your PowerPoint here are some of the ways that most people market these days. They either do paid advertising through Facebook or offline through newspapers or on LinkedIn, on Google, etc., or they do search engine optimization, or they do joint ventures and affiliate programs, or they do personal one-on-one networking or group networking, or they get on LinkedIn and connect with people on that social media platform, or they do speaking to get an audience and sell that way. These are all really great ways to do it, and we do it ourselves. However, these can be very expensive, can be hard to find loyal partners to work with you, and it can be time consuming. And, again, we're not dismissing any of these. We do them themselves. What we advocate is, you really want to start with your strategy first and then decide what tactics or areas to focus on. And what we pose as a question is, how can you get an edge today? One way is to generate a large audience. And the advantage of having a live audience in front of you is that most people really do engage better. Historically, it's always been great to have a live audience and engage with them face to face. Obviously, the downside is it takes a little bit of time and you have to generate an audience. But the upside is that you're probably going to get a better conversion to clients. The second is creating what we call an organic pipeline. Organic essentially means you're not paying for any kind of advertising, but you create a natural, you could say, unpaid for traffic that comes to your site because you have good, interesting, and engaging and relevant content for them. The third is to create what we call a loyal tribe of followers, people who are engaged with what you're up to. And if you're interested in a lot of these, we've actually shared some of these, in fact, all of these tactics in previous webinars in our webinar series, so be sure to get those recordings. Some of you know that you have a great service, but you don't have enough people to know about it, or not enough people to buy or engage. And you're competing on price, lowering the value of your service, and also lowering the value of your industry and your pricings within your industry by doing that. You may have a great message, but nobody or few people are hearing it or taking it seriously. And you have a legacy to leave behind, and the question is, will it be fulfilled or will it die out? So maybe time, and this is what we advocate, is to design your marketing engine the way that makes sense to you, from based on your philosophies, based on your target markets, based on what your audience will respond to, and have marketing produce results. So in this training and previous webinars that we've done, we look to keep your marketing costs down, build a long-term marketing engine with sustainable results. And this is a very key point for number 2 and number 3, is most people focus on the short term. And if you just keep focusing on the short term, you'll keep focusing on the short term. You'll never get to the long term. Somewhere you got to make the investment, the risk. Sometimes it is a risk, but you got to take that risk. You got to make that investment to get to the next level. To get to the next level of your business will almost certainly require an investment of your time, but certainly almost all the time require an investment of money in educating yourself, getting coaching, getting guidance on how to do it right. You want to look at what creates a high return on investment, making sure you measure that. We talked about that in our previous webinars, and how to do that with less time and stress in the long term. So some of you may have heard this. You hear it a lot in a lot of the advertising that goes on. How can you reduce overwhelm, etc. What is different about us is that we don't promise any overnight solutions. There are no income guarantees. But what we do promise is if you do the work, you'll create something that's an engine, marketing engine that's more sustainable, that will pay off, reduce stress, and feed you for a long, long, long time. And the most important thing is to learn to outdo your competition. Once you set the basis for that, a system to outdo your competition, then life becomes a lot easier. The 3 areas, again, to focus on: live audience, organic pipeline of prospects, and engagement to being paid. And again, we covered these in previous trainings. Today's topic, again, I made a mistake here. I apologize. It's not easy marketing systems, but we're going to talk about how to, how to really take away a lot of the overwhelm and have you focus on the right things that will create the most return on investment for you. So what you're going to learn today in this webinar is 3 things that keeps one paralyzed. What are those 3 things, especially in the world of marketing? And then the steps to get out of paralysis into action and results. And the powerful decision to make now that will alter your life and business today. And we'll talk about some of the things you can do to immediately take some action to move the game forward for yourself. So the 3 things that keep one paralyzed. The first thing is not being clear about your branding. By branding, I specifically mean, and some people have different definitions for branding, but really, who's your target market? What are they really looking to solve in terms of problems or challenges or pain points? Where do they want you to lead them? What will be so compelling for them to at least engage with you initially? And how to create, what kind of offer you have that matches what I just said about the target market. And it's a simplified way of saying it, but it also is a primary message about your company, what kind of emotions you instigate. That's relevant. For some markets, it may not be. But you want to be clear about your branding. And again, specifically your target markets, your offer, etc. When people are not clear about their branding, 2 things occur. They either get paralyzed or they get overexcited about something, and then they discover that they get overexcited about a lot of things, and then they get overwhelmed again. And it goes in this vicious circle. You get paralyzed, you think of a great idea, without really considering your target market or your long-term plan, you dive in and then realize that it's not really feeding you consistently, and then you repeat the whole process. So that's one thing that keeps one paralyzed or in the same place. The second is when you have too many tactics. You're trying a lot of different things, but there's not enough cohesive strategy. similar to the first thing, but it's more about, you may have a clear brand, but if you're trying so many different things, that, some people I've counted, they have like 15 tactics, even 5 may be too much, or 6 may even be too much. For some of you really should be focusing on 1 or 2, especially when you're first starting out, so that you can measure the progress of that tactic to see if it works or doesn't work. When you have too many going on, it becomes hard to measure, hard to manage, and especially if you're a solopreneur, it becomes more difficult. The third thing that keeps one paralyzed is when you focus on outreach versus being interactive. And this is where people focus on reaching out to people. They buy lists sometimes. They try to get a website together. They do email marketing, but they're not interacting with their audience. And you got to engage your audience these days. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything. Just because you have an audience doesn't mean that they're going to buy from you or be interested in what you have. You have to interact with them and build that relationship. Relationship is still very key. We're basically fundamentally social animals. So if you're not focusing on that, then you're not really going to market. There's one more major thing or point that keeps one paralyzed. It's probably the biggest one, I feel. And especially in the last 2 years, I've been working with more and more marketing clients, even more so than even before. This is a major point, and I'll share that at the end of the webinar or towards the end of the webinar. So the steps to get out of paralysis into action and results. First step, clearly, is to get clear on your branding and marketing strategy. This includes really defining what your target markets are. What are the pain points? We've talked about this in previous trainings. And if you have questions about this, reach out and just email me. I'll give you my email towards the end of this webinar. And we can have a short chat about how you can move forward to the next step. But you definitely want to get clear on your branding and your market strategy, specifically your target markets, your pain points, your compelling offers. The offers have to be compelling. You want to test it out, make sure it's compelling and it's moving people forward. The second step is to do what we call the rule of 4. Rule of 4, what we mean is less is more. Sometimes doing less is better than trying to do a lot of things. A lot of you tend to do a lot of things every day. And then you're asking wrong questions. You're asking, how can I manage all of this? Well, the real answer may be you really can't, or you shouldn't really, because most of the things you're trying to focus on are probably, even with a team of 4 people on your staff, can be very difficult to try to focus on more than 4 or 5 tactics or strategies in a month or in a time period. So you may want to focus on 1 or 2 things that you feel pretty good that's going to return and create some kind of return on investment for you. So there's a rule of 4. The rule of 4 is simply put where you want to focus on a maximum of 4 projects or target markets, however you look at it, in one time period, whether the time period is over a month, a week, a day, or a week, or a month, or a couple of months. You want to try and focus on 4 or less. Why 4 or less? Because what we found in studying our clients, based on a lot of the brain science out there, it's pretty much well researched. Anything above 4 tends to be very much more difficult to manage and tends to produce less results. When you focus on 4 or less, seems to be better. For some of you, you may be better off focusing on just one thing, just one tactic. And you should spend like 30, 25 hours, whatever is appropriate, on just that one strategy. And maybe even just one tactic. If it's just building up your meetup audience, then focus on that. If it's building up your email marketing audience or your email list, then focus on that and have a clear goal. Again, the less is more. And I hope you really internalize what I'm saying here, because this is the bane of most businesses. This is where most people fail, I feel, when they scatter themselves in an attempt to alleviate some of that anxiety or panic. They think just doing more is going to help. Not necessarily. In fact, it could be detrimental. You want to look at maybe just focusing on a few things. Now, are there exceptions to what I just said? Of course there are. But for the most part, say the exceptions are very rare and far in between. For the most part, you want to less is better, and focus on 3, 2, or 1 tactics or strategy at the same time. The third step is to focus on outreach and engagement. So both, outreach and engagement. I'm sharing this again in a generalized form because some of you may be very different at the stage of business you're in. Some of you may have been in business a while. You already have a huge list or a relatively large list. You may even have a small list. Some people, I've had clients with 100 or less people on their list, and they've managed to create a very good business with that. The most important thing is to focus on engagement. By engagement, I mean, it could mean for some of you actually one-on-one conversations, even with people who may be slightly more interested, but you're not quite sure they're interested in working with you yet. It could also mean more asking of questions, checking in, offering them free articles based on what they need, finding out what they really need in conversation, not being attached to selling them, but finding out the information on what they need, the education that they may need, and the information that they may need, and giving it to them, not giving everything, because that may not serve them either and may not serve you as well, but giving them just the right amount to get them started. And what does that do? Well, it creates more engagement and trust in you and what you're up to. But it also helps you focus on what's more important. And I think these days, it's really important to increase engagement with the people on your list as well. So I mentioned earlier, there was another major point that keeps people paralyzed. And I want to describe that. And this is really a powerful decision to make now. It will alter your life and business. Not all of you are probably going to make this decision. Very few of you predictably are. And I really do mean that. Few people do, but the few people who do are the ones who really generate results very quickly. And there's a couple of reasons for this. So let me describe the decision. The important decision to make is fundamentally, you need to decide to invest a lot more to create a better return on investment on your time and energy and your business. If you're stuck at a certain plateau, this is especially relevant. You cannot underinvest money or time. You must take this seriously. Most people underinvest money or time, or they are inordinately investing time rather than money. You have to invest some money as well, especially in the domain of getting guidance on a day-to-day basis, because as things get more and more complicated today in marketing, you really have to do two things. One is you have to learn a lot more about your options out there in the world of marketing. Secondly, more importantly, you have to adapt and adopt those tactics to your business. And that takes a lot of dialogue with another person who has fresh eyes, like a coach, consultant, can take a look at it with you and see what makes sense. See, because you really need to invest the money on getting that kind of help. And I've been coaching for 25 years, but the importance of what I just said has increased more astronomically, much more than it has even 5 years ago. And for the simple reason, again, it's just more complicated now. It's more to consider. You really need a lot of individual time for the most part to really get the guidance to make sure that you're investing your money and time and energy in the right places. So you have to take this seriously. Even for me, can be confronting sometimes because I realize I have to invest even more money and time to get to the next level of where I want to go. But the returns are usually good, so I'm really encouraged, you see, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I know if I invest the money, a couple of things occurs. One is if I invest it smartly and find the right people to help guide me there, I'll more than likely make a lot more money, and I won't look back. I almost never look back. Every time I've invested, I invest very often in the region of 20 to 25 to 30 to maybe even $35,000 in money for coaching, consulting, extra work from other people. And, that way of being that I have now is paid off in droves. So you have to start thinking like that in terms of investing more in order to make more. Rough gauge, especially in the Bay Area where you almost have to make about 100K in order to survive and pay your bills, you got to invest at least $20,000 in money and time to make that. Now, I'm just being very brutally honest. Are there exceptions to this? Yes, but very rarely so. But I'm just being brutally honest because a lot of you have come to me and you're not quite ready to invest this money. And what I say is, you may need to scale back your expectations then in terms of what you can get in your business. And I'm being very honest about it. I know some of you may be discouraged by this, but it's just the truth, you see. And I hope I save you a lot of time and energy in pursuing a large goal like 100K. First year, if you're not willing to spend that kind of money and time. And the money, you should be spending at least 6 to 10K in getting coaching, guidance, whether you're in the starting phase of your business or in the midterm. It's kind of money I spent when I first started in 1991 in business. I didn't think twice about it because I knew I was stuck. I tried the hard way for too long. I did a lot of door knocking, a lot of cold calling, but it wasn't paying off. I had to invest the money, and I'm glad I did. You cannot compromise on this premise. And like I said, there are very rare exceptions to this, but this is a powerful decision to make. The people that I've seen make this decision get, in the next 2 years, they have what I call a breakthrough year. And in the next 3 to 5 years, they have what I call a breakout year. A breakout year means you really breakthrough means you really have a great, outstanding result. But the breakout year is more interesting because in a breakout year, you set up the structures to keep having breakthroughs every year. And that breakout year could occur if you work one-on-one with me, there's a good chance it will occur in your second year if you do the work. But most people, they have a breakthrough year in the first year. And depending on the complexity of their business, they have a breakout year within the first 5. Sometimes with more complexity, it takes a little while to create all the structures, put all the structures in place so that you consistently have more breakthroughs every single year. So I hope that makes sense. And if you have questions about that, certainly reach out. This is a diagram to illustrate how you can start building your brand online. A brand or your story about you is really represented by the number of arrows you can see on this diagram. And the squares on this diagram represent you and other platforms that you may use, like Facebook, LinkedIn, Meetup, Alignable, Twitter, etc. And as you can tell, the more arrows you have, the greater your brand will be online. More people will be aware of you. You'll be stopped, when you're out there driving around. And it just happened to me a couple of days ago. Someone honked in the car next to me. So I was driving back from San Jose to Santa Cruz. I looked over and the guy smiled. I looked quizzically at him, and he said, "I know you from Meetup." And I said, "Have you been to my Meetup page?" He said, "Not yet." And our Meetup group, yes, he said, "Not yet." But you're going to be recognized more. You're going to be invited to speak, going to be invited to participate in different things, and so the number of arrows really represents your story online. So you can see the more platforms you use, the more of a storyline you have, And the greater your branding, the greater people are going to be aware of you. But here's the thing, like I shared with you already, you want to make sure that you focus on the right platforms and that you test those platforms and you test the numbers out. Don't dismiss anything. Try it out as long as you don't break the bank. It's good to do smart experiments so you can build out your empire this way about who you are online. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll give you my email here pretty soon. I've shared these testimonials before. Charlotte Jacobs, still a very good friend of mine. I helped her triple her income in the first year of business. She's now a multi-million-dollar mentor for coaches and healers. Eric Kamel and his wife, lovely wife, Carrie, they're both in real estate investments in luxury realty in San Luis Obispo. They doubled their income last year. We're set to double again this year. And in fact, we're looking at having a total breakout year in the next year and a half. I believe that's very likely to occur. Stephanie Dodds got her first highest paying client ever in the first week of coaching. Her confidence has gone up in terms of coaching in her nutritional and life coaching business. These are all very sweet results. I love providing these for people who are really up to working hard, but they also want to work smart. But certainly, you can't avoid working hard, especially if you love what you do, and if your tactics and what you select to focus on matches what you're passionate about and matches your target markets, then life gets a lot easier. So next power steps. If you really want to bump this up to the next level, want to have a short chat with me, it'll be about 10 to 15 minutes. We can chat, and I can answer some questions for you. I won't do anything longer than 15 minutes, but you can email me at sunil@chahayamind.com, and we can have a conversation. And the intention of this conversation is to get you moving forward, and what's next. You might have a short email interchange for me to just clarify what you really need. And if it's relevant and it makes sense, then we'll have a short chat. I'll help you get going to the next step. So that's pretty much it for this week. I'll look forward to seeing you in the future. We are a couple of announcements here, especially for those of you who are in the Bay Area or maybe traveling to the Bay Area or would like to travel to the Bay Area and attend one of my trainings. Tomorrow, I'm doing actually a group coaching session for business where you can bring your own questions. I'll give you answers. Doing that in Los Gatos at 10 a.m. Pacific time, obviously. And then we're doing another event like that, quick Q&A in Santa Cruz. And again, email me if you want more details for that. Or if you're on Meetup, certainly look up, just search for Sunil, S-U-N-I-L, and you'll see all my meetups. And you'll see those events there. We are also doing a the workshop is called Sales Conversations That Make Money. So if you're interested in being really well trained and coming out of a workshop with a really very good, powerful, effective sales conversation that you can use to sell your services and products, we're doing a workshop that promises that. And that will be on December 3rd, Saturday in Sunnyvale. Again, that's posted on Meetup. And if you want more information, again, email me about that. We'll be doing more trainings in the future. There'll be more live trainings as well. We may be cutting down. Actually, we probably will be cutting down the webinars pretty soon here. So make sure you catch whatever webinars we have remaining. All right. Well, you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Have a great day.